Hello friends, music lovers, vinyl community. Wes here back again for another episode of the Vinyl Survivor. This is where I talk about 5 albums that were new to my ears, clean them up, give them a listen, let you know what I thought of each one, try to give you a little bit of background on each one, and maybe you will be inspired to check some of these out for yourself if you haven't heard them. So let's just go ahead and get into this episode. First thing we have here is an album from the band Madness, a ska band from the UK. This is their album called Keep Moving from 1984. So yeah, this was their first album, I believe, after they sort of hit it big in the US with Our House. So this was released on Geffen Records in the US here. And overall, I have to say I was really disappointed with this. I love Our House. It was a classic 80s song. I enjoy ska music. I thought this was kind of neutered sounding, kind of ska light or something. Just really didn't do much of anything for me. I didn't enjoy it at all. The white label Geffen Records drum with the drumsticks in the dead wax, so that's artisan mastering, and it says here it was mastered by Greg Fugeltini at Artisan. And it also has the rifle in the dead wax, which means it was pressed at the Winchester pressing plant. So yeah, nothing wrong with the sound quality on this. It sounds good. It's just the music is really just boring to me. You know, I'm the type of person where you have to have good music to grab me. The lyrics come second. The music didn't grab me, so I don't know. I didn't really hear what they were saying at all. It just was kind of boring and kind of blah to me. So yeah, Madness, Keep Moving, not going to be staying in the collection. I picked this up for 50 cents at the Salvation Army, I believe was where I got this one. As well as the follow-up to that album. This is Madness, Mad Not Mad, 1985. And this was kind of more of the same for me. I just really didn't appreciate this. I had sort of a bleached version of ska to me. It just didn't really have any feeling at all. It just kind of blah again. So yeah, definitely the Madness I like is the earlier stuff. This later stuff, I don't know if it was just the success that got to them or whatnot, but just not very interesting musically at all. We have Geffen Records again, of course. This is the black label, drum in the dead wax again. It does not say who did the mastering on this, but still mastered at Artisan. And there is the SRC in the dead wax, big S with the little R and the C inside the S. That's Specialty Records Corp. Pressed at a different place this time. Still perfectly okay sounding, but just very boring and uninspiring and not interesting to me. That's another one that's not going to be going in the collection. Okay, moving on to something much better from the 80s. This is the debut album from Men Without Hats, titled Rhythm of Youth from 1982. Of course, features the hit song Safety Dance on it. I think pretty much most people know the Safety Dance pretty well. I hadn't heard this album before, and I really enjoyed it a lot. It's good all the way through. Great synth pop 80s music, really good sounding, interesting sounding music, and it's just really, it catches, it's something that catches my ear, and it makes me want to listen and hear the words. Really cool sounding music. And Men Without Hats are actually a Canadian group, which I didn't know. I learned that. That's pretty cool. And the Canadian pressing of this actually has a different track listing, so I thought that was interesting as well. This one has the song Antarctica on it, and I believe the Canadian version didn't have Antarctica on it. It had something different on there, maybe 2 other different songs. So maybe hopefully find a Canadian pressing of this someday. But just a great synth pop album, something that's easy to find, something that's a dollar bin record, I would imagine. This is another one I picked up at the Salvation Army thrift store for 50 cents. This is on Backstreet Records, part of MCA. And this has Precision in the dead wax, mastered at Precision, has the G inside the barbell that is an MCA Gloversville, New York pressing plant, which is where you'd expect an MCA record to be pressed at, one of their plants. But yeah, just a classic 80s synth pop album. I can highly recommend this album. I thoroughly enjoyed it myself, and I think anybody who enjoys synth pop or at least enjoyed the Safety Dance song, more fun, danceable, good 80s synth pop. This is definitely a go-to album for me. Alright, next up we have an album from Janis Ian. This is titled Aftertones from 1975. This album was the follow-up to her album that featured her biggest hit, which was At 17. And this album was, she says now that she was very pressured and rushed into making this album. And I didn't enjoy this one at all. It had a very loungy, Vegas lounge act kind of sound to it. Turned me off instantly when I put it on. I thought I was really going to enjoy this, but you know, as I said, if the music doesn't grab me, then I'm not going to listen to the words. So, you know, there may be well-written lyrically songs on here, but musically it sounds very cheesy and very, very loungy to me. So, didn't enjoy this one at all. I think the most well-known song on here is the title track, Aftertones. It just overall not an interesting album for me. Get a nice printed color insert with lyrics and a photo on there. And this is on the red and orange Columbia label. Has Sterling RL in the dead wax on side A and just Sterling on side B. No initials on side B for some reason. So Robert Ludwig did the plates for side A of this particular pressing, but for some reason not side B. I don't know. It's a 1G stamper on side B and a 1B stamper on side A. So maybe Robert Ludwig did the first few plates and then somebody else did later ones, and this is a little bit later pressing. But yeah, another one where didn't interest me musically, so it's not going to be a keeper for me. Alright, and the last album I have to talk about for today, we haven't talked about any folk yet today, so let's talk about some folk. We have Peter, Paul and Mary, A Song Will Rise from 1965. I believe this is their 4th studio album, right after they did their live album. Just a really nice Peter, Paul and Mary's album here. Very typical with a Peter, Paul and Mary album. They're doing a lot of different folk styles, and there's something on here for everyone. There's some more darker, deeper, sort of sad songs. There's some more fun-loving, happier, enjoyable, almost comedic songs on here. You got like Talking Candy Bar Blues is kind of funny. Opens with a Bob Dylan song, When the Ship Comes In. There's some really beautiful, hauntingly dark, sad ballads on here. Jimmy Whalen and Ballad of Spring Hill. Those are definitely awesome songs that I really love. A really good version of Motherless Child that Mary sings. And it closes with a Gordon Lightfoot song for Lovin' Me. I believe this is the first time they did a Gordon Lightfoot song on a Peter, Paul and Mary album. It sort of gave Gordon Lightfoot some notoriety and allowed him to have a career of his own. And I believe his debut album was right around this time as well, 1965-ish. So, really good folk music album, good Peter, Paul and Mary. Peter, Paul and Mary are easy albums to find, and if you like folk music, you know, dollar bin records, thrift store kind of record. Good stuff to have and really enjoyable for me personally. This is on the green Warner Brothers label. Not anything real interesting in the dead wax on this one. And I believe also that when I was doing some research, I believe the mono version and the stereo version have a different track listing. There's one version on this is a stereo version. There's one version on here that's not, or one track on here that is not on the mono album, and then there are two tracks on the mono album that are not on here. Interesting different track listings. I'm going to have to try and see if I can track down a mono pressing of this album and just to compare and contrast the different track listings. A good, fun folk music album that I can recommend for anyone who's has any interest whatsoever in folk music. So I want to thank you for watching another episode of the Vinyl Survivor. Only 2 albums made it this time, unfortunately, but sometimes that's the way it goes. Can't all be winners, but I enjoy exploring this music, and I hope you enjoy following along with me, seeing what I dig. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe. That lets me know you like what I'm doing, and it will let you know about future episodes. So thanks again, and see you again soon. Cheers.